Today's topic, 7 shocking retirement truths they do not tell you about. Today, we're going to talk through a few of the items that are not so great about the golden years. And we will walk through some tough topics, 7 of them to be specific. And this topic came to me while I was actually at a conference on a very similar title. And I'm thinking, it's probably going to be a lot of financial stuff on like, hey, do you know about RMDs? And have you ever done a QCD? Wasn't that way. It actually got pretty intense pretty quickly. We're going to walk through 7 of those, and it covers a lot of things. We'll get into loneliness, addiction, more of the financial topics of just scams, and 7 things that you should keep on your radar as you head into retirement. And as I said, these are not fun topics. These are not rosy topics, but they are important. And it also adds emphasis to why many of us should probably even do a test run of retirement and kind of go through these different chapters. So we are going to walk through all 7 of these coming up next. Okay, before we get into those 7, quick favor to ask, as I always do quickly, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so now. Give us a thumbs up, share the message, click on the bell icon, get a notification every time we release a new video like this one, like we do weekly. All right. Let's get into it. I will not have my normal chipper attitude for this video just because there are some difficult topics here. So let's start with number 1. So again, the goal of this video is to give you some things to think about before you hit the retirement tour. You got to think. A lot of things change with retirement. We'll often tell our clients that it takes a year or 2 just to even settle into what it's going to feel like financially. That's just the financial side. We're going to go through a lot more than just that today. We are also big fans of kind of slowly going into retirement and cutting that back again, especially with our clients being the physician community. It's very common to go from, a full-time, like a 0.1, or excuse me, a 1 FTE down to like a 0.5, maybe a 0.4, 0.3, 0.1. And you're slowly working in. So those are essentially, they label those as full-time equivalent. So if you're watching this as not a physician, think about a 1 FTE as full-time, although many physicians would argue they do a lot more than that, even at 1. You can go above 1, but you're slowly phasing into it. So you can kind of like test run retirement. And I think that's important. We're going to go through a few of those reasons why now. But like I said, a lot of these are not fun topics. So I will do my best to walk through some of the stats that some that I heard from the conference, but also then when I'm building out these videos, more details that I dug into as well. So first up, loneliness. So the fact that I pulled for this one here is that studies show about 28% of retirees feel isolated. This is actually even more heavy for the male population. The male population really strives on that work environment, the social vibes that come with it. So this stat even hits that demographic even a little bit harder. I don't think this comes as a shock, right? You're used to having routine and going somewhere and being around your peers, especially for the group that is, close to retirement now, right? That's not a virtual world. I kind of chuckle, like, our business, like I don't walk into the office and see Zach, Billy, and Liz, right? They're all spread out across the US. We'll hop on Zooms together, but for the demographic that's retiring very soon, even younger than that, you're still used to going into an office setting, and we're somewhat unique being virtual, but like all of our physicians, they walk into a hospital pretty much every day and get to talk to their colleagues, their patients, and you have that setting. There is a huge part of the social aspect that comes with that. And all of a sudden, you retire and it's gone, right? At least the large group of it, if you're not planning properly. And really, that's the main goal we want you to get out of this video, is to be thinking through these things in advance. So how do you offset that? Well, you prepare to be a part of other things. Maybe you're volunteering, maybe you're parts of groups, maybe you're still giving back to the hospital, right? There's a lot of things, and I'm using the hospital, but no matter what your line of work would be. But just keep that in mind. While we think, just get to sit on the couch and watch TV now. This sounds great. Or I'm going to go play golf every day. If you're going to go play golf every day, just make sure you're playing with friends, like get into a league. But all of a sudden, that can become extremely lonely. So that is an important one. That's the one we're going to start with, loneliness. Truthfully, the next one is the one that caught my attention. Again, I thought this presentation was going to go a completely different way, and it was just like, boom. I mean, a few points I was you get emotional hearing some of this stuff and some of the stories that they would share. But addiction, one that I didn't give too much thought to. I'd like to say that we've probably been blessed by, no horror stories, no terrifying stories from our clients. So it's one that really didn't come up. Of course, these are occurring, and clients don't share everything. But addiction is a serious issue in retirement, right? You used to have just maybe one glass of wine to kind of unload from the workday. Well, all of a sudden you don't have time constraints, you don't have commitments the next day. It turns into 2 glasses and then 3 glasses. So 10 to 15% of retirees establish what they labeled as risky drinking habits. I thought even scarier was that 1 in 4 will get addicted to painkillers or anxiety medications. So again, one of those things, you're thinking heading into the golden years, retired, worked all this time to enjoy this, but you have a lot of extra time on your hands, and you need to be proactive on what you're going to do with that time so that bad habits don't come into play, or habits that are meant for, maybe just relaxing, don't become a problem. So number 2 on the list, which again, this one really got my attention, was the addiction side of it. Number 3, the topic is actually identity crisis. The stat right out of the gate is 30% struggle with identity crisis, which leads to depression and anxiety in year 1. Just year 1, 30%. So you're talking about just about 1 in 3 have this identity crisis. And again, I don't think it's such a unique topic because you don't really give too much thought to this. But then when you hear the issues, you're like, oh, that does make sense. I think this one in particular is a good one to add context to, right? This is probably another one where being a part of something larger is going to be really helpful here. Or, like I noted at the start, test driving, right? If you're working part-time and you can start to join some other clubs, maybe get into some other hobbies, right? What's next, right? What's your next chapter? I remember, I forget what it was. It was either like 30 or 40. Like when you are a male and you become either 30 or 35 or 40 or something, like you essentially have 3 choices, and I'm going to butcher the choices, but it's like you either learn how to, you really get into cars, you get into, I think it was like golf, and I think the other one was like smoking, like you buy like, like the smoker, like briskets and stuff like that. And I chuckled because I feel like so many of my friends actually ended up like doing something like that. And I don't have the 3 right because I don't think car was one of them, but regardless, it was just one of those funny things on like how you start to get a new identity at these different chapters of life. And this happens throughout all those chapters, but you need to make sure that you have what's next in retirement because you're going to remove a lot of the work-based identity. So now what's next? Is it, again, some type of mentorship? Is it maybe you're just a super grandparent, right? You're just like, hey, that's going to be our next big chapter there. Whatever the case would be, just keep this in mind. Make sure that you're preparing yourself to have that next chapter, that next identity for you laid out. I'm trying to see the things that I noted before. I put mentoring. I know I noted that gardening, other hobbies like guitar, things of that nature. So make sure that you are preparing for that and avoiding the identity crisis. All right, number 4. This is more in my wheelhouse. Financial stress. 46% of retirees get slammed with an unexpected cost early on in retirement. The 2 main culprits: healthcare and a grown child maybe needing some form of help. Now, I'd like to say, again, most of our clients, at least based on our conversations, likely don't have financial stress day to day because they've done very well. They save, they ideally work with us for a decade or more. They're in a good spot. But I will say the one part that actually catches more people off guard than what they know is adjusting to a fixed income. Even when you have the investment assets, you have to learn to live off of kind of constraints, right? We call them guardrails, guide rails in terms of, hey, this is kind of the range you want to be in, maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower, depending on the year. But that is a big shift. When you're used to having money come in, all like you go to work, you earn that paycheck, you're not thinking of, oh, I'm going to deplete all this money and then what? There is a financial strain, especially early on in retirement. Even clients that are very well off, a lot of the clients that we work with that are, they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. They still will note to me how stressful it feels pulling money out of something that's not getting replenished, right? They're not saving to it anymore. So financial stress, I think, can come in a lot of different ways. I mean, we know financial stress just overall is a huge issue, no matter what age or what phase of life you're in. But for our retirees in particular, no matter how many times I tell them they're going to be fine, they're in a great spot, they will always come back and say it's weird, especially early on those first few years, pulling money out of an account, knowing that it's not getting replenished, even though there's market growth, right? But they're not replenishing it. Sometimes this is a little bit less stressful if, you have good Social Security coming in, you got good pensions, but for that next generation of retirees, pensions aren't nearly as common. Who knows the health of Social Security in the long run? So then it really is all from what you saved. And, and I understand where they're coming from, right? You're pulling it from that account. And because you're not replenishing it, especially in down years, we'll get more contacts from clients. They could have worked with us for 10 years. In their working years, market goes down a lot. Didn't bug us at all. No notes, nothing. In retirement, we noticed our retirees will get a little bit more concerned, even though we've made their accounts more conservative, things of that nature. But when they see the talking heads on TV saying like the world's ending, it is a lot scarier because you're not replenishing those accounts. So financial stress can come in a lot of different ways. If you're watching videos like this, ideally you're already ahead of the curve per se and preparing to have a very strong financial foundation as you head into retirement. Number 5, another topic that I talk about all the time, which is not a topic that gets a lot of love from financial planners, but I believe health and wellness are absolutely essential to even the financial planning side of it. So, the notes that we had in here was, health is a huge issue. They actually list that 60% of, one of the facts that I pulled in was 60% of individuals over the age of 65 will deal with at least 2 chronic illnesses, arthritis, diabetes, you name it. And then worst of all, 1 in 9 will have dementia and those types of Alzheimer's types diseases, which, very terrifying on many levels. So health is a huge issue, which is why we always are talking to clients about overall health and wellness. You can be worth $100 million. If you don't have your health, what the heck does it mean? What does it mean? What does it do for you, right? You want to be able to enjoy this, especially now we're talking about the retirement phase, right? You worked your butt off for how many decades to get to this point? You need to have your health. You need to be mobile to go see the world. You don't want to have to be dealing with all these chronic illnesses and heaven forbid a premature death where you don't get to enjoy any of this. And how many stories do you know in your circle, right? They do all this, they're working their butts off, they retire, and then boom, major illness comes in, cancer comes into play, so many other diseases, and they don't get to enjoy any of this. So got to take your health serious. Ideally, if you're watching this before you retire, the earlier, the sooner, the better overall wellness. I always advocate for consistent blood testing, physical fitness, good diet. It's probably the one topic outside of personal finance. It's definitely the topic I love. Right, very close nearby to personal finance is just overall health and wellness. But that one shouldn't come as a surprise, but it's one that, you're in control of that one. Taking proactive steps for your health, not only today, but as you go forward. 6, marriage strain. They note here, the fact that we pulled in here, I didn't know this was a term. I don't know if you knew this was a term, but they call it gray divorce. Gray divorce has doubled since the 90s. So gray divorce is divorce for individuals over the age of 50 has doubled since the 90s. And it is now up to pretty much above 50%, which is what the overall divorce rate was for everyone else below the age of 40. And if you're thinking being single in retirement doesn't seem bad, the next one I'm going to get to is that population is also getting scammed the most through different apps and things of that nature looking for love. So got to be careful there. One of my number 1 tips to everyone that we speak to, and whether it's YouTube or our presentations with different medical schools and different medical programs, is you need to invest in your marriage. You need to keep the fire going. And we talk about that as an asset protection, right? The quickest way to lose half your money is not going to be a medical malpractice lawsuit, right? It's going to be divorce. So you got to keep that fire going, whatever you need to do. And this is another topic where I do think it's very helpful to kind of test run retirement. You just worked for how many years, how many decades where you weren't with your spouse, just you two again. And even there, you might have been working and also raising kids. You and I both know it's easy to kind of disconnect there, and that's not a good thing. But all of a sudden, now you're right back. Kids are out of the house now, and now you're retired. you better hope that fire's still going because you're going to have a lot of time together. So making sure that you're being aware of these things and having hobbies together and knowing that you each have to have your own time or whatever the example be. I am not a psychiatrist, so don't take marriage advice from me, but just kind of noting the things that we see out there on our clients that are doing it the right way. And, I always joke that they're still in the dating phase, right? They're still doing vacations together. Yes, they do vacations with the kids and the grandkids, but they still are doing their own vacations. They're still doing date nights. They're still holding hands and holding the door and opening the door, right? They're still dating. So keep that in mind as you head into this amazing chapter. I mean, I can't think of a better way to celebrate with your spouse, significant other who was a team player through all this, right? You're working through all those years, all those decades of building up this nest egg to now be able to go enjoy it. Don't miss out on that, right? That's something special. So again, keeping that in mind, put time and energy into your marriage, not only today, not only tomorrow, but every day going forward. Last but not least, probably one that we also expected here, scams. So getting a little bit older, maybe not as sharp. Technology is a beast now in terms of how easy it is to scam people. I just noted even on the dating apps, we just had a conversation with one of our friends when we went out to lunch on their concerns of having an older mother and dating apps at that point. On pretty much the main thing was that scams, bad people trying to get there. And that's through the dating app side, the marriage side of it. Overall scams are currently, this is 2024, retirees are prime targets, and they lost $3.4 billion to scams from the FBI in just phishing emails. Just phishing emails. Fake investments and grandkid in trouble calls. So $3.4 billion, phishing emails, fake investments. If you're one of our clients watching this video, this is why you always contact us. If anything seems weird, contact us. And then grandkid in trouble. These are the things that you have to pay attention to, right? And these can ruin a great financial plan. Scams here and there, whether it's small or large, you need to be aware of these things. If something doesn't seem right, hang up. Don't click on the email, right? If it says grandkids are in trouble, contact your kids first, right? Because they're probably okay. Most people aren't going to send you an email saying that your grandkids are in trouble. So be aware of that. Careful what you click on, careful what you, if you're typing anything financially in, just think twice, because once it's out there, we're in trouble. But keep an eye out there for scams. Again, any weird phone calls, any weird texts, any weird emails, just be on high alert at all times. This is only going to continue to grow with the growth of AI. You can now probably, you can probably make up your grandchild's voice on AI to then have them call you to send you or get your banking information. I mean, it's only going to get 1,000 times worse. So you need to be aware of that. And again, if something doesn't seem right, stop, contact someone you know and trust, verify. So that's our 7. Like I said, not a video with a lot of energy or excitement, because it's scary stuff, but it's things that we need to be aware of. And like I said, this came to me, by the time this goes live, a couple months ago at a conference. And again, I expected something completely different. I thought it was going to be all financial topics, and boom, we went into loneliness, depression, anxiety, addictions. And it was just, I thought to myself, wow, this is really deep, and this would be a great topic for a YouTube video because it's the things that we don't think about. So those are the 7. If you have questions, comments, concerns, drop those in the comments below. You can also click on our link and send us a private note if you'd like to see more context around this. If you have other topics or other questions you'd like to see, send those our way. But as always, thanks for hanging out with me for maybe around 20 minutes on this one. And I will catch you on the next video.